Unforgettable. That's what you are. Unforgettable.
Oh, is this for?
Who's
this song for?
I don't know. It just came to my head.
Oh, it's funny.
Unforgettable.
I think it's fitting.
You do?
Yeah,
Aw.
because someone leaves and they are truly unforgettable.
They are unforgettable. We love Who Left. This is a sad episode. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Shade of It All.
Welcome
I'm
back
Brandon.
to the Shade of It All. I'm Magdala.
And we just got off talking about Summer House.
We did.
And now we're going to be talking about how Ciara was banished on this episode of Traitors.
You know, when people are being stuck on something, it's really hard to get them unstuck. I think we've talked about this before.
It is.
Everything you do is suspicious. Yeah, you mean like do you ever chuckle from your gut? Like the things that people come out with are really annoying.
It's very, it's unfortunate. Her fate was kind of like sealed the minute she like stepped into the coffin.
Basically.
Because they just couldn't let it go.
No.
And
I don't necessarily blame them, but I felt bad for her.
Yeah, it was tough. Like, I don't blame them too much, but then I'm also like, it just seems to me they didn't know who else to go for, and they're just like, the coffin theory, let's finally put an end to it.
Pretty much.
And it was just like, really? Y'all ain't gonna come after Danielle
They're
yet?
like, we have to just, I mean, I get it, because we kind of talked about that with Rob. Like, Rob has been weird. We could just banish him to sea.
Yeah.
You know, so that was kind of what they were doing with the coffin thing. But when 3 people total and 2 are already gone, the odds of I guess in their minds, the odds of the last one being there made sense to them. But we got to break it down, y'all.
We gotta break it down. Episode 8 of The Traitors, Season 3. Magdala, get it kicking. Step it up. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. I've never heard you say my first name before.
Really? Never?
I don't think so.
Maybe not on the pod.
It's so funny because my parents don't even call me Magdala, so sometimes when people say my name, I'm like, oh, that is me. Okay,
It's
Brandon.
me. So you can't find me. Catch me at the morning at 45.
I'm dead. Side note. Did you see the video of Keke Palmer saying that that song is a Negro spiritual? She said that is a slave hymn. I was like, oh my god!
SZA and Issa were taken aback.
Flabbergasted. Keke Palmer is so funny.
She's one of the funniest people ever.
She should be making so much more money. I don't know.
She should. She should be in
SNL,
everything.
I want to listen to her. Have you listened to her podcast?
Occasionally. I
Yeah.
saw the ones with Serena and Cordell.
Oh yeah, I listened to that one too. Like, just get in your bag. You are so funny.
Yes.
Anyway.
Also, shout out to SZA at the halftime show with Kendrick. We
Oh, they ate it up.
We love the halftime show. I love it
Oh,
so
it was
much.
so good.
Stay Drake.
This man is in Australia shaking in his boots. Yeah, this was an interesting week. Very interesting.
You're a star striker.
What's that?
SZA, the halftime show.
Oh, her dancing. Yeah, I don't think her mic was on.
No,
But she ate.
But yes,
She ate.
it wasn't.
We should go watch their movie.
We should.
You want to do that? We should do that.
Okay, yeah, I'm down. It looks funny.
It does look funny.
Yeah.
I saw a little promo, but people aren't really talking about it, so I wonder if it's good.
I heard stuff in the beginning and then I haven't since, but also the internet, I don't know, I feel like they've like changed topics like so quickly.
So fast.
Unless you're like Wicked, they're not talking about you anymore.
No, Wicked is still in theaters, y'all. I went to the
Really?
movies yesterday and it was like Wicked, and I was like, why is this still here?
I don't know, but it's coming to Peacock soon.
Unless it was the sing-along.
No, maybe. God.
All right, y'all. Magdala, get into it.
Magdala, get into it. But this was a funny episode.
So we are on episode 8 of The Traitors, and we left off with this murder in plain sight. So there are a few people who didn't get a shield who are now vulnerable to be murdered. And this time the traitors have to do it in person. So it was Dolores, Chriselle, Dylan, Tom, and Gabby. And
technically Carolyn, but she's a traitor.
She's a traitor.
You know.
So we see all of them like kind of say they have to go into this church, approach a coffin, and then turn around. And if they turn around, it's either going to be the traitors or Alan in front of them.
Which I don't think they told us last episode that it would be Alan.
No, I didn't know.
Which makes sense when we saw their reactions. And one of them, as we will find out, it's like, oh, okay, so you did see somebody there.
Right.
So
we just see them gasping and stuff, and I thought they would actually show us what they saw, but we just turned to breakfast.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying. I actually wanted to see that.
Right.
I was like, y'all could have shown us that.
Show us something.
And maybe go down to 2 and then go to breakfast.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't show us anything.
I know.
All this big cliffhanger. Anyway, the next day we will find out who was murdered. But Brittany and Danielle go into breakfast first. They're kind of glad that Rob is gone, and then they were just talking about like who they think is not gonna be coming in. And then Danielle does a confessional just saying that the murder in plain sight was hard to do.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay.
They seemed oddly exhilarated by it though.
Yeah, they're like, oh my. I mean, I guess it is intense. Like, someone's gonna see the traitors, like to actually know. I get it.
And she thinks we're gonna be shocked with who they killed. Were you shocked?
Oh, Danielle said that?
Yeah. Or she thought the faithfuls would be shocked at least. Which.
Why don't I remember? Oh, no. I mean, I would have been shocked if they killed someone else.
True.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked with I guess it was like underwhelming.
It was, yeah.
So Sam, Ivar, and Ciara come in next. Ciara is upset about Rob's gameplay and putting her in a coffin because she's like, I thought this guy was she's feeling a little betrayed by Rob.
She's like, you put me in my new YSL boots. That's fucking rude. Like, that reminds me on What Happens Live when she was after the Summer House premiere. She was like, I don't know, with all these gamers, people were asking me what was your strategy, and I was like, my outfits. I was like, period.
Oh, Ciara, you are very much yourself. I love it. And then Sam starts to talk, and he's like, I don't think the traitors are like that smart. Like, I think we should just like listen more. And I was like, wait a minute, that is kind of smart.
But then he talks more.
Yeah. And they all think that it's either going to be Tom. They think Tom is most likely the one to be murdered. So now they're doing it. So everybody who was up for potential murder comes in one by one.
Yes.
To really lay it on thick.
Drag
we
it
don't
out.
know who it is. So Gabby comes and they're like, she explains like what happens. She explains what she saw.
It was beautiful. There was like hydrangeas, and it was just wow.
Basically. And she's worried about Chriselle. Tom comes next. He's like, hey, why aren't I last?
That was crazy.
Oh, he wants to be part of the main point of the storyline so much.
He really does. And the way he opened the door, he like pushed it and then stood back and was just like, ta-dam! Because I guess he thought he was going to be last because he went hard for Boston Rob.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, but he's dead, so the traitors don't care. You didn't catch them.
Right.
Yeah. And like, you were right about Boston Rob when it was very obvious it was Boston Rob and you had no relationship with him. Like, okay, I get it, but I'm like, calm down, Tom.
Yeah, I think he's still in his like, I saved the day.
Yeah.
So like, where are my flowers? I thought there would be like a moment for me this morning. No, they don't give a fuck. Yeah. So Tom comes in. And then Sam, and then he also kind of describes like the whole thing. And so Sam's like, maybe we should quiz everybody.
Yes. Which was smart. I was like, this is a good catch, because Tom was like, oh, I saw his like black designer boots, and he's like, we got to ask the other people like what he was wearing, because if they say something different, then they were a traitor.
Right.
And I'm like, that's fucking smart.
And so Sam, I apologize. Last week I said that you and Ivar aren't so smart. Not sold on Ivar yet, but Sam, you're smart.
At this point, yes.
Yeah.
We'll see where the rest of the episode goes. But at this point, I was like, okay.
Yeah. I thought it was like a smart idea. Like, at least he's like, oh, well, actually, because when he said that, I was like, what are you talking about? There's people who wouldn't know because they weren't there. But I was like, oh, to suss out everybody else that they would only see they would only see Alan. Mm-hmm. So Carolyn comes in next and she sits down and they're like, so what happened at the church? And she's like, it was beautiful. It was really pretty. It was like the flowers, all this stuff. And they're like, but what was Alan wearing? And she's just like, don't murder me. Carolyn. And then in her confessional, she's like, I don't know what to say. What am I going to do? Commercial.
Yeah.
And then they come back and she's still kind of stammering. And Tom's like, boots, black. And she's like, yeah, black. And he's like, boots. And he like helps her. And Sam is like, no.
And it's like, but no, also like a cape.
And Sam is still like, no, stop talking, Tom. But Tom's not catching it.
No, he's just like, oh shit. And Brittany's like, Tom's a fucking idiot. Okay? He does not get it.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
But I will say, y'all should listen, and you should too. Carolyn's podcast with Carson, they had Brittany on this episode, and it was a good one.
Okay, and they talked about this.
Yeah, they talked about this, and Carolyn's like, they should have showed me a picture of Alan because, like, I didn't know, and it was like setting me up.
Of course, they're setting you up, Carolyn.
You're a traitor. They want you to get caught.
That's funny, but yeah. So Sam had a good idea. Tom foiled the plan. So I think they made it seem like she was stammering for a while, but I have a feeling Tom just kind of swooped in.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, because I think even Brittany said on the podcast, she was just like, it wasn't as bad. And Tom was like helping you out. So
yeah, because Gabby was like, it was like between a pass and a fail, but like she passed. Yeah. She mostly passed.
She passed.
And I was like, why is she passing? But I think she's also passing because she's Carolyn.
Yeah.
They're not going to think too much about it.
It tracks. And also her and Gabby are close. So Gabby's probably like, I don't want Carolyn to get caught even if she is.
Right.
I'm trying to get to the end.
Right. Because didn't she say that earlier? Like, I don't care if so-and-so's a traitor. I like them.
Yeah, about Nikki. She's like, I'm willing to like about that because I like her.
And didn't she vote Nikki out?
She did. Well, Chriselle called her out.
Oh gosh.
Oh gosh.
But then like Carolyn's like, what? You know, and Sam is just like, it's fine. And they just kind of move on. So I thought they would continue to question people, but they don't.
No.
Dolores comes in. They're like, what was it like? They just kind of move on. Dylan. Oh. Sorry. I ruined it. It's Dylan. So we go to see who the last person is and they flash back and Dylan turns around and Dylan sees Alan.
Mm-hmm. It was a bit anticlimactic.
It was
kind of quick. So it was just like,
right.
It was like your reveal. It was quick.
Because even in my notes, I just write, Dylan was safe. So Chriselle turns around and the traitors reveal themselves and it's Carolyn and Danielle. And so she just kind of looks sad and they just slowly, this was awkward.
It was. Why did you murder me? Girl, you were too faithful. You were never going to get me honest.
And then what did Danielle say?
It's what we must do.
I thought it was going to be like, like it's you guys.
Yeah.
It's you. Oh my gosh. But I guess they were like, y'all need to be like real, you need to act like traitors in this moment.
I don't want to reference the podcast too much because y'all should watch it, but it was funny because Carolyn was like, Chriselle was really sad and they told us to be serious.
I figured that much because I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And they like slowly hand her an gap. Danielle's hand raises from like the pits of her cloak and she's just like, it's like really weird. And Chriselle just looked really sad. And I was like, see, so she's sad. I wouldn't want to meet her with this like stoic, cold energy. Because she just like kind of bites her lip. And she's just like, why
this
me?
Is really unfortunate. I'm like, okay, Chriselle.
And that's kind of it. She leaves. Dylan comes in and they're all like, Chriselle is gone.
Yeah, they seem kind of surprised and sad. Chriselle did say, which sounds like most people, that they're surprised about Carolyn, but Danielle, they're not so shocked.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I get it. Danielle acts weird. So it makes sense to me. She just does. She cries a lot, shakes a lot. Like, she does a lot of stuff.
Tom was happy.
Oh, yeah. And he was like
smirked.
And he said something. He was like, Chriselle, I think this is fine because Chriselle didn't help. He was like, Chriselle doesn't really like add to stuff. And it's like, you need to do. And it's like, Tom.
Chriselle threw under the bus one of her closest allies. Like, Chriselle, look, I thought she was annoying, but she spoke. Like, she was a part of it.
He's like, she doesn't speak up enough.
Yeah, and Brittany was like, that's a personal vendetta. And he's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And Ciara's like, you could say the same about Brittany.
And I was like, not Brittany catching a stray. Ciara, relax.
Ciara don't give a fuck.
You could say the same about... That was crazy. That was crazy to me. I didn't expect Ciara to say that.
No, Ciara doesn't give a fuck. I love Ciara's so funny.
Brandon, it fell out of her mouth. She's like eating breakfast. You can say the same thing about Bob. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then like, what was it? I was watching because our friend Gia was over here yesterday. And we were watching like some interviews, and it was one of the Ciara ones that you saw on TikTok, and they had asked her some question about like Paige and Craig, I think, from like the Summer House and Southern Charm, and she was like, I'm not answering that. No, I have no words. And Gia's just like, I love how Ciara goes on an interview and just will refuse to answer questions.
Here to discuss.
But then we'll like go in on someone else. It's like 0-100. I love it.
She's funny. We just saw her say something. I want to talk about that TikTok we just watched too, because that was crazy. Mm-hmm. But basically, they're like, "No, Tom, shut up. Chriselle was fine." And then Alan comes in.
Yeah, and he gives a hint about the challenge. He's like, "Be a doll, do it quickly." And Tom's like, "Quickly." And Sam's like, "The clue was doll."
Oh, Tom.
But after breakfast, they're all going outside playing games and getting together.
They're playing badminton.
Yes, badminton. They were. Actually, yes, they were at one point. And then one point they were playing like cricket or like crochet.
Crochet, yes. Mm-hmm. Last week we were struggling to figure out the name of the game.
We were.
Thank you to...
People let us know. They're like, it's badminton. We're like, fuck, sorry. Shit, my bad.
I should have known it was badminton. I know what that is.
I do too. When they said it, I was like, oh yeah.
Someone named Andrea Cochran commented on our Spotify and was like, the game is badminton in all caps with the birdie. I love you too. And I was like, this is so funny. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea. We appreciate you.
And a couple we clipped that and put it on TikTok, and a couple people on TikTok were also like, it's called badminton. I was like, y'all know this game.
I didn't know the badminton community was strong. Fuck. My bad, y'all.
I was crying. That's so funny.
That was funny. But
they're like, we're screaming at our TVs, badminton.
I feel that though, because when that happens, I'm listening to people and like, you know the answer because it's so obvious to you. It's just like, you fucking idiot. We
I
got
digress.
it, y'all. Sorry.
Thanks for the help.
Thank you. But Danielle is being a fucking freak. The way she did you notice the way she walked out of the castle, like when she was gonna talk to Carolyn?
No,
because she's all like, oh, she feels in a good spot but wants to build on Carolyn, so she meets with Carolyn. She's like, do you want to talk outside? And Carolyn's like, oh yeah. She's like, yeah, let's go play a game. And she's just kind of walking like this,
what? I didn't
slightly
notice
hunched over, a little hesitant. I'm like, Danielle. Walk normal. What are we doing? Stop.
That's funny. I didn't notice.
I'm like, you're really committing, and also only Carolyn's there. She's the traitor. You don't have to act this way. I can't with her.
Oh my gosh.
But Carolyn tells us she has a hard time trusting people, and she feels betrayed, but she's taking it one day at a time with Danielle, which is smart.
Yeah.
They play the games. Tom decides to talk to a statue of a stag, and he's like, will you give me the answer of who the traitor is? And they're like, no, bitch.
Tom really wanted to have a hero moment like Boston Rob did, because he helped catch a traitor and kind of led the charge, and no one cares.
Tom wants many moments most flop, but when he shines,
I thought I'd be last.
it shines.
No, for real. He's so annoying. Guys, I'm okay. This season is great. The Tom Sandoval edit is very funny. It's mostly against him, but I'm tired.
Okay.
I am tired.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about him. Don't really want to see him.
No.
Even laughing at him is giving him energy I don't want to give him.
Yeah. It's too much. And
even though it's mostly at his expense.
It is. And it's one of those things, though, because people online are just like, I don't know Tom Sandoval, but he's hilarious. Because it's the people from Big Brother and all that don't watch Vanderpump Rules.
Right.
So they don't know.
Yeah.
And I think even Carolyn was like, I like Tom. I don't care about the past. And I'm just like, okay.
You should.
The thing is, you
should.
Because it wasn't just cheating, and he's actually quite the most awful person. But you know what? In this capacity where he's not being taken seriously,
yeah,
it is what it is. As long as he doesn't win, I'm fine with it.
Oh my God, what if he wins?
Some people are saying that he might accidentally win, and I'm like, I don't know, just because the thing is, he's pulling through on this challenge, kind of.
Yeah.
And he figured out Boston Rob because it was obvious. Again, a man does one thing right, and we want to praise him.
Yeah.
Let's calm
and
down.
Really nobody suspects him. They should have killed him. Oh, who should they have killed in your opinion?
Oh yeah, okay.
I think they should have killed. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I had thought Chriselle or Dolores.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wasn't surprised it was Chriselle. I get why they did Chriselle, because she is an obvious faithful. So I guess, I don't know, of the choices, it kind of was like,
I would have killed
Dylan, but they're close with Dylan.
Yeah, but he's a faithful. Mm-hmm. He's kind of leading the faithfuls. Without Dylan, I feel like they're slowly losing the people who were the most convincing, right?
Yeah.
Rob is gone. They can't depend on him anymore. Without Dylan, I feel like they would have even less guidance, and maybe the other two could try to lead and persuade them in different directions.
True. There's some duds left that they're listening to.
Because really it's Sam and I guess Tom.
Sam, Tom, and Ivar.
Yeah.
Because Gabby, I think, is smart, but she's still laying low. Mm-hmm. So I get it. But it's the vocal ones are them, and it's just I guess get rid of Dylan, and it's just he's one of the smarter people. So.
Right. That's what I would have done.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see an argument, honestly, with any of them.
Or Tom too.
But Dolores.
Yeah, I didn't see a reason to kill Dolores.
Yeah. Chriselle I could get, because even though she's loud and wrong, again, she is an obvious faithful.
Yeah.
Gabby I just like, and Carolyn was close with her, so I'm like, keep Gabby.
Keep Gabby, for sure.
But Dylan could have been good. Tom could have been good.
Tom could have been good, too, because Tom just kind of, nobody really cared about Tom. If Tom was murdered, no one would care.
No, and they would have understood.
Yeah, and they wouldn't be like, oh, but he was talking. Tom did say they would never bring up what he said. No. Nothing it would just be done with.
Honestly, that probably would have been the smartest move.
Right.
Yeah. But
because at least they'd be like, well, Dylan did mention once, because Dylan has credibility with them.
Yeah.
They might be like, Dylan mentioned once Danielle. Maybe that would have been bad for her. But yeah. And I don't.
And then.
Yeah.
But then how would they have done this mission?
Without Tom. They needed him.
But Tom tells us he's shocked to still be here, and I thought it was Dolores, but if Dolores was a traitor, I would have been murdered, so I don't know anymore. And so
you could have used that logic weeks ago, dumbass.
That part. What are we saying? You were eligible for murder almost every week. Maybe you got a shield once or twice.
Right, but now it's oh, it's definitely not Dolores. And I was like, Dolores, you're still thinking about her?
But he wants to revisit one thing. So he's talking to Dylan, Gabby, Ciara, and Carolyn, and he goes to Carolyn, and he's holding a mug, and he's just like, "Hey, whatever happened that other day with you and Danielle? It kind of got overlooked. What happened?"
He did take a while to just spit it out.
Speak! Just say it. And why are you squinting like that? I can't with him. And Carolyn's like, look, she tells them basically about like the situation with Brittany, where Danielle had told Brittany that Carolyn was saying her name or whatever, and that like pissed her off. And she's like, look, like, I gotta be honest or whatever. Like, if people bring it up and I don't like, and I change my story, that looks suspicious.
It does.
Yeah.
But it is kind of, credit to Tom. That was something that they were like pushing, that they kind of just dropped out of nowhere. That's suspicious.
It is.
That's
it was
weird.
Overlooked.
And it seemed, at least from my perspective, it seemed like overnight it didn't matter anymore. The next day, nothing between them mattered anymore.
Yeah.
So that is weird that the first time Carolyn really says anything, it's about Danielle, but tomorrow or the next day she doesn't say anything.
Yeah. It
weird.
was a very forgotten moment. I feel like it was slightly revisited here, and maybe in the future it'll be revisited again.
Maybe this is another, just because it's Carolyn, it's like, we don't care. Carolyn had a moment at Roundtable. It's fine.
Carolyn had a moment. We all have moments. Embrace the moment.
And like, she basically like knew what the room looked like. From this morning, she passed. Gabby let her pass.
And pass or fail, but I think she passed.
So yeah, these things that are like obvious, I feel like they're missing. Even the Danielle thing about how she wanted to save Derek, but then saved Dolores and not herself, and then cried. Like, that was so weird.
That was. It's these moments though, they just keep getting overlooked.
But maybe it's like, well, Danielle is a crybaby. Like, that's why.
Yeah, like it's kind of on track.
Well, she cries like at breakfast, and then like when people get murdered, and then like at Roundtable, and you know, they're just like chopping
it's very on brand.
Yeah.
I will say Derek did say on some interviews he was doing, he was just like, I know the edit looks like this, but it's not as obvious with Danielle.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because also like we know who the traitors are. So like we're seeing it.
Yeah.
But like, how do we not? Like, it's probably a little less obvious.
Yeah, and they also, I think, show the traitors doing weird things. But I'm sure a lot of people did weird things.
Yeah. So
like,
it's just like
the people who we never hear from, I'm sure they talk all the time. You know,
they're just
so
highlighting the traitors.
Right. So that makes sense.
Yeah, but then on the other side of the field, we have Sam talking to Ivar, Dolores, Danielle, and Brittany, and he thinks they should revisit the coffin theory. And he says he thinks Ciara is a traitor and she must go. I'm like, Sam, well, the talking thing was good for a minute, and now we're back to being wrong.
Well, Tom kind of fucked up the only way to really like prove that someone was a traitor. So now he's got to go back to the only other thing he knows.
Right? He's like, what's the other thing we were thinking about? The coffins. Okay, let's roll with that.
Such a step back, but they were all like, yeah.
It really was. I'm like, and even if you still think it, I mean, and again, maybe it's just because we're watching. I'm like, Ciara's not a traitor. Like, she doesn't even like, because even the reasons they give to her later on being a traitor, there's nothing really that she did.
Yeah.
Like, there was maybe
only one thing I really was like, okay.
That's somewhat valid. But all the other things, it was like, not. But we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Brittany thinks it could be Ciara since she was siding with Boston Rob. Interesting, she's using Derek's logic that he used against her.
Right.
With Boston Rob against Ciara.
Right.
But you know, hey, an angle's an angle.
An angle's an angle.
So I'm not too mad. And Ciara did sideswipe her at practice. So I get it. But then we get Ciara in her gray set slaying the house. And she's like, she points out to Gabby, the alliance between Brittany and Danielle is fucking weird. And she's like, they're gamers and they need to be separated. I think one of them's a traitor and a bitch is lying and I'm gonna catch her. I'm like, period. I'm like, you're onto something. One, because Danielle is a traitor.
Yep.
And with Brittany, I mean, splitting them up is smart regardless. And Brittany, not to get too ahead, could be a potential traitor.
Yeah. This is interesting too, because I was like, I mean, y'all are friends. You're friends with Gabby.
Yeah.
So why are Danielle and Brittany so suspicious? Because they're both gamers?
Probably because they're both gamers and they do seem like oddly a lot closer than they were. Like they're getting along, they're like dancing, they're playing the game.
Yeah.
They seem to just like have an alliance. Whereas maybe the others, it's a little more like, oh, they're kind of close, but they're still talking to other people more.
Okay, they're becoming exclusive.
Yeah, it's exclusive.
This relationship is exclusive.
They're past the talking stage, and Ciara is noting this.
They're not
She's
seeing
just
other
like,
people.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that, because I really don't see Danielle like talking to a lot of people.
No, she's just like shaking.
Yeah.
I'm like,
because like later she mentions that Ion was like an ally of hers, and I was like, when?
right.
I didn't see that. So
not at all. And even I'm like, Danielle, when they were like kind of back at breakfast, when Tom was saying what he saw, she was like, okay, and what else? Like, she was acting suspicious. I'm like, you don't need to act this way. They know, they didn't see the traitors.
Yeah.
So he can't say whether he saw you or not.
Right.
It reminded me of that time, remember, when Nikki was like, oh, we heard footsteps, and I think there's a female traitor. And she's like, you're saying there's a female traitor?
So the conclusion is, solidly, let's make sure everybody hears, the traitor is a girl.
Yeah.
Like, relax.
It's like, okay, Danielle, put some like attention on you.
Right.
But yeah,
That's funny.
Then we get to the mission.
Yes. So we have another mission. And this is when I realized there's 10 people left. So they split into 2 groups. 5 people go with Alan, 5 stay at the castle. And only those who go with Alan could potentially have a shield. So they all play rock, paper, scissors to find out who's going to go where.
They love to play that.
I think it's a fair way to split it up.
It is.
Danielle says she wants to be on the shield team because she wants to keep Brittany safe, and I was like, is this because you already knew Brittany was going over there? But anyway,
right.
She wants to keep Brittany safe, and she doesn't want Carolyn to know who ends up with a shield, so that she can protect her. So basically the challenge is that there are a bunch of antique dolls, and some of them talk, and some of them have nursery rhymes that they play backwards. So the people who go to the woods with Alan have to memorize the song backwards, say it into the phone. The people at the house who hear it on the phone have to go to a machine, say it into the machine. There's a lot of steps.
There is.
And then play it backwards to see if it sounds like a nursery rhyme. I was like, this is really complicated.
It was a bit much, but I loved it.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
It was very fun to watch, but I would imagine being in it would have been horrible.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Right. So they have 30 minutes to do this, but of course they do it on time because somehow they always do. There are 4 dolls with nursery rhymes that they have to figure out. So it's Ivar, Sam, Ciara, Danielle, and Brittany are at the dollhouse. And so...
Tom.
And Tom. What did I say?
Sam.
Not Sam. Ivar, Tom, Ciara, Danielle, and Brittany. And then when they get to the house, that's when Alan tells them one of the dolls has a clue to a shield. So they all go in and are immediately looking for the shield.
Right. They're like, that a shield, got it.
So we only came here for the shield. We don't give a fuck about the money. We just need the shield. So they start walking around and looking at all the dolls. Some of the dolls are spraying things. Some of the dolls are saying evil things. I was like, this is weird.
It's a creepy challenge
Yes.
in like dollhouse.
Yeah, it's very creepy. And so 5 minutes in, they're not. They haven't made a phone call back to the house. So everybody at the house is just standing by the phone, like, what's going on? I wonder what's happening. And they all like suspect that they're looking for a shield and that Tom will probably get it.
Yeah.
This is where at some point Ciara finds a clue. Here's a clue to the doll.
Yeah, it says the shield is in bear.
Yeah. And so they are still inside looking around. And then Tom starts to actually try to play the game.
Oh my gosh, they sounded like Doodle Bob.
Oh, meow.
That was a terrifying episode of SpongeBob.
Yo, nightmares. No, that's literally what he sounded like. Tom is in that mode. He is like, I'm gonna get this challenge done. And Brittany is in her confessional, and she is like, Tom is very focused, and he sounds ridiculous.
He doesn't realize how he looks.
Because in his head, he's eating it up. He's like, I'm the only musically inclined person here. Are you? I don't don't think being on a cover band is considered musically inclined. You're basically doing karaoke.
You're the only one who deals with music, but
Yes.
as far as whether or not you're inclined in that music is up for debate.
Up for debate, my friend, because there's not like awards for people who are in cover bands.
No.
You don't get a Grammy for being in a cover band.
Yeah, especially if you're not good. But, you know, but he is committed and he's trying.
He is. So
And-
he's doing his thing, memorizing all the things, and they're all just listening to, like, there's a point where they're all in the cabin and Tom is just outside like trying to do his thing.
Alan watching Tom sing. I bust out laughing the entire time. I saved this picture. I will add it to the YouTube. The way he's just sitting there just like
Smile.
when Tom is singing. I'm like, this is the best moment ever.
I think that's the best part of hosting game shows is when the games are humiliating and you just get to watch.
Yeah.
Because like last time when they were all doing the bugs, he's getting a kick out of it, and this one he was too.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts to go. He goes to the phone and he gives them the song, and they're just like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
They go to the machine, they put it in, it doesn't work, and so Gabby is like, "Find one that sounds more like a nursery
Get
rhyme."
another one. That one didn't work.
And Tom's like, okay. And he hands the phone to Ivar, runs back to the cabin, and Ivar's just like, and Alan's like, Ivar, do what you like. Don't just stand there. And he's
Right.
like, I think he asked Ivar, what are you doing?
Don't
and
let
Ivar's
Tom
just like,
bully you. Be your own man.
yeah. Ivar's like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, and so Ivar runs back, and I'm like, not Tom trying to give people orders.
I know, right?
Because Ivar runs back to the cabin, and you see Tom like trying to tell him to do something. I'm like, don't boss Ivar around, Tom. You want to do this by yourself, and he does. So he keeps memorizing the songs. He's the only one who memorizes a song, puts them into the phone. They actually start to sound like nursery rhymes, and they start
do.
to figure it out. At this moment, there's 12 minutes left, and that's when they start figuring it out.
Yes. Another questionable moment with the
Yeah,
times.
because I was like, to repeat the noise, you have to listen to it. I mean, I guess it's just like a little bit, but I don't think it happened in 12 minutes, but whatever.
No, not at all. Brittany did reveal on the podcast, though, that apparently Tom was actually doing really bad, and she had to do 2 of them because they were requesting other people because Tom was doing bad.
That's so funny.
He did do some, but he didn't do all.
They made it seem like he did all of them. So they all do it, and then at like 3 minutes left or whatever, Ciara looks down and she sees a bear with bear written on
Perceptive
its
queen.
And so she grabs the shield, and then they basically finished. It was actually kind of cool to hear them put it in the machine and play it back, and it did actually sound like a nursery rhyme.
It was.
After a while.
Florence was like, I hear mice. I hear the word mice.
And I was like, I didn't, but apparently it was right.
But all right.
So they win the challenge. They get all the money, and Ciara gets the shield.
As she should. After the challenge, they're driving back. And Ciara's saying she feels Brittany is a traitor because she lays low and doesn't speak up. And she says it makes sense because the other 2 traitors were very outspoken. So, like, wouldn't it behoove of you? Whatever that word is. To kind of lay low a little bit and not be as ostentatious. And I'm like, that's a good angle.
Valid point.
Right point. Wrong girl, because you should point it at Carolyn instead, but no one suspected Carolyn.
Nobody would believe her. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Ciara said this because I was like, oh, so it wasn't a stray this morning. Like, you actually suspect her.
You're like, oh, got it, okay. Well, you say the same about Brittany.
You could say... It's like me and you are having a conversation here, and someone like 10 feet away is like, but what about you, Maggie? Like, excuse the fuck out of me.
All right. But in the other car, Ivar's like, so the premise is to go for Ciara. I'm like, no.
Please.
But Danielle's like, this is great because the heat's not on me and Carolyn, so like, it is what it is, as long as it's not us. Sam tells Gabby and Carolyn they're back at the mansion. He thinks it's Ciara because Rob and Bob must have convinced her to get in the coffin. Like, oh, they have such big personalities. They must have been very persuasive and convinced Ciara that she should get in the coffin.
So you're already... So they're like, since she's a traitor, she would be persuaded to get in. And I was like, that's kind of a reach.
Their arguments kind of contradict the other.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of grasping at straws.
Right. But whatever. Because they're like, all the traitors are bold, but one has to be shy.
Yeah.
What?
Right. Gabby says maybe they should look at Brittany and Danielle because they share the same opinions. And Sam's like, I'm not ignoring that. And I'm like, but you are. Because you're going after someone else. Carolyn is telling us, though, she'd rather have Brittany banished than Ciara because Danielle's so close to her. And if Brittany's gone, Danielle will be more loyal to her.
I guess it's a big thing. They must only talk to each other. And, like, they must be really exclusive if it's even Carolyn is, like... Carolyn was worried about it before, but, like, she's really worried about it.
Yeah, they must be more forward-facing with their relationship than, like... Because we just kind of saw it last episode and, like, going into this episode. But maybe before there was even more.
Yeah, it's like they're an item.
Yeah, they're exclusive.
They're exclusive.
Dylan tells Dolores he wants to go for Brittany because of what Derek said. I'm like, okay. Carolyn does meet up with Ciara, though, and she lets her know that her name's being thrown around because of the coffin theory. And Ciara says, look, I don't trust Danielle and Brittany, and I don't trust Danielle's theatrics. Like, she's too dramatic. And Carolyn's just like, this is perfect. I will say with Ciara, she's on to something, obviously, but she needs to, like, commit to one person. Yeah. Because then you can, even though I don't think any of it would have helped her. It seemed like they just wanted to vote her out to close the coffin theory. But maybe just commit to one person. But I guess throw out both. I don't know.
Yeah, like you have to pick a person and then pick something that they've done that is sketchy.
Dig into it.
Yeah, like Ciara is being picked because of the coffin thing. That really sucks because who would choose?
No control over
who would opt to do that? But somehow they're convinced that she wanted to go in there, or like, she was forced.
Wants to go in a coffin.
Yeah. So like, if she could pick somebody else and just say like, Brittany is weird because of this, or Danielle is weird because of that, and have someone else say it too. Yeah. Then they might be able to go somewhere.
Right. Ciara does also tell us that Jeremy mentioned Danielle before he was killed. I'm like, valid point. I would dig into Danielle and be like, her theatrics, she acts like a fucking freak. And Jeremy mentioned this. And just like go with that. Because it would be the right one. Yeah. But Brittany tells Danielle she thinks Ciara is the most obvious one. Which I think Brittany is kind of thinking that because Ciara is coming after her. So I'm like, is what it is. Yeah. Sam and Ivar tell Dolores Ciara has to go tonight. But Ciara joins them and says, I hear the coffin theories going around. But, I have this theory about Jeremy with Danielle. And they're like, and Dolores is like, bring that up at the round table. Bring up all you can because they're coming for you, girl.
Yeah. I'm glad that she tried to like stay there and say what she needed to say. But it's hard once these people are convinced of something.
Right. They don't let it go.
They don't.
But she's ready to rumble, and she's like, I'm not one to back down, so I'm ready for this round table. And I'm like, I know that's right. So we get to the round table.
Follow me down into the valley night. That song is fire.
That is. Wait, sing that song.
Follow me
I just
down
don't want to. You're like, oh.
That's really how it is. They play the song and it's like Carolyn's voice.
Oh, I don't trust Danielle.
And then I hear a graping, whiny voice.
It's really unfortunate that Ciara might go tonight, but like I'm open to whatever.
Follow.
The thing about it is, I love Boston Rob. Dude,
we're funny. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, that was a good recreation, Brandon.
Thank you. That song is lit.
It is. We need to find out who made this sad song. And also, what does that mean? Follow me down into the valley night, where all the flowers bloom.
The valley.
The valley night.
I guess the valley at night, but the flowers aren't blooming at night.
No.
But maybe they are bloomed, and it's where they usually bloom.
And maybe they're white flowers, so we can see them at night.
The cemetery, the flowers at night.
So they have round table. Alan's brooch for the week is a baby doll's face.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
And he's having so much fun. And I was like, I couldn't. I don't think I could.
No. And it was like a light blue suit or whatever. Yeah. And it was just like a creepy baby
white
doll.
Baby doll. Like a porcelain doll's head. Half of it in his pocket. Anyway. So they have roundtable. Ciara's like, I will go first. She's like, no traitors were in the coffins. And I'm a faith. And I would. And wait, I'm like messing this up. She's like, no traitors were in the coffins because I'm a faithful and the others were too. Ivar chimes in and he's like, it's not just that. The remaining traitors are likely to be girls. And Tom's like, yes, at least one of them will be a girl. And historically and generally speaking, girls are better cheaters because they have better social status. The fuck?
He's insane. And immediately they're like, you're saying that? Cheaters. He's like, no, it's not cheaters. I meant traitors. I meant traitors. No, I know.
And him smiling doesn't make it better either. Like, did you misspeak? I don't know.
I want to remind everyone that maybe don't know this about Tom Sandoval. He cheated with his partner of 9 years with one of her good friends for 6 months, maybe 7. One of the times,
maybe a year. We don't fucking know.
We don't know. And one of the times, and he cheated before that, but one of the times, Ariana was at her grandmother's funeral. The first time it happened, her dog had just died. He also recorded Rachel on FaceTime without her consent, and that's how Ariana found out. So just for the Traitors viewers, it's not just a cheating thing.
It's worse.
So we can,
and then he blamed all of it on her.
Yeah, he got mad at Ariana for finding out. And then blamed her.
And was a total dick and still is a total dick about it.
Because she didn't buy batteries.
Because she doesn't buy toilet paper. Like, literally made stupid reasons to blame this girl. So for him to sit here and say historically women are cheaters. So you wanted to confess something. Like, this is a message you wanted to be said. You know what I mean? Like, why would he just say that?
And cheaters instead of traitors, like, those aren't... What?
Where are you right now? Anyway,
I don't know, but I like that they called him out.
No, everybody was like, and Gabby's like, vote Tom.
We're voting Tom out. Perfect. They should have.
They should have. And unfortunately, Gabby has consistently pointed out that Tom would not be a traitor. And I'm like, I kind of wish she would just let it be a rumor, so maybe he could go home.
Maybe at one point they will vote him out because it's one of those things like, oh, you wouldn't think Tom's a traitor, but then it's the one you least suspect, so they're like, let's just get him out of here.
Yeah,
I'm excited for whenever that happens.
So after they're done, like, they have an uproar for a second, they calm down, and Sam's like, well, let's just go back to the coffin theory because we can't rule it out until we know, which kind of makes sense.
It's one of those unfortunate things where it's like, if you don't have much else to go off.
Yeah, they really don't have a lot.
It's still kind of open. It is like, even though I don't think the majority of them truly believe Ciara was a traitor.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, you never know unless you, like, do it.
Right. And I think this is the first week where they really haven't had a big heavy hitter leading the discussion.
Yeah.
Because for the last few weeks, Rob has been pointing whoever he wants to get out and making sure they get out, and everybody would just follow suit. So this time they kind of just have to lean on whatever they know,
right? And
it was a theory before, and it's not necessarily a bad theory because they're going off of like what previous seasons about this coffin thing.
Yeah, I mean, so I have a little bit of tea. I don't remember, so I got Carolyn's podcast on Patreon. I'll probably get rid of it like quickly after Traitors, but I was like, I want to know if there's some tea.
He's not gonna buy it for long.
No, and it was only like $5 or something. It wasn't anything crazy. I can't remember I think it was on the Patreon, because after they did like the podcast, they did like a Q&A with Brittany after it, and Brittany said there was a rumor going around that a traitor was required to go in.
Oh.
And that they said that that's what happened the previous season. But I don't think it was. But if you're in there and you're not able to watch it and like you don't really remember, you could be like, oh, maybe it was. Because Parvati went in the coffin.
Yeah.
And she was a traitor. So it's kind of like if someone says that.
This is like why in Big Brother they have a rule that you can't use production as a strategy. Like you have to omit whatever's happening behind the scenes, and you can't use that as part of your, because that's not fair.
Yeah, and she basically was like, Ciara, there was honestly nothing she could have said.
Yeah.
Because like they were just gonna go with the coffin
They
theory.
were convinced. So that makes sense.
But that didn't stop our girl from going down without a fight.
Yeah, and also Brittany adds to it, and Brittany's like, well, yesterday at the vote, you were the only person to vote for me along with Rob, because Rob was trying to frame Brittany. And Ciara's like, well, yeah, you're a good suspect because you lay low, you've played games before. And Brittany's like, well, I actually think that makes me more faithful because traitors are really bold with their game and they're really outlandish. They do a lot. So they kind of go back and forth. And then Ciara's like, well, Jeremy did mention Danielle. And this is the first time I've actually seen Danielle defend herself at Roundtable. Have we seen her?
With Carolyn, kind of, but that was such a weird moment that I was kind of like, I don't know. But
we all were like, oh, that was so embarrassing. We don't want to think about it.
Like, oh.
Don't bring that one up again.
But Danielle does make a good point here.
Yeah.
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 And she was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, do you want to go ahead?
I was like going to. I was like, oh no.
No, go ahead.
But it was just, she was just like, all these people were murdered and they were my friends. So why would I murder them? Like Ayan, Derek. Yeah. And I'm like, this is an instance where succumbing to Boston Rob worked in her favor.
Yeah.
She was able to make that point because those murders wouldn't make sense if it was her.
I mean, they would because she's a traitor.
That part too. You could easily flip it.
Right.
On its surface.
Yeah, on the surface, a traitor would want their friends in the house. So she had to kill her friends. And then they would go back to the cursing thing. So Tom says when Ciara was in the coffin, they were like, any last words? And she's like, fuck you guys. She's like, fuck the traitors. And Tom was like, that was really bold to say, like, to the traitors, and like really bold. And Ciara's like, I didn't want to back down. Oh my gosh. Like, I was just like saying fuck them because fuck them. They put me in a coffin. I was just wearing a cute outfit. Like, I didn't want to go it. You know what I mean?
I'm in a coffin in Scotland. How am I supposed to react?
And nobody wants to lay in a coffin before they actually die. Like, I feel like she could have explained it a lot, but she really just dumbed it down to like she was putting up a fight. She didn't want to back down and just say nothing. And then Ivar was like, there were two powerful traitors negotiating that a weaker traitor should get in the coffin, and a weaker traitor could have been someone like Ciara. And Ciara's like, this is crazy.
She's like, respectfully, that's fucking bullshit. Do you think I'm gonna be convinced by Bob the fucking drag queen or Boston fucking Rob? Get the fuck out of here. I'm not going in a coffin. And I'm like, drag.
She's like, since y'all say I curse, fuck the theory. Fuck all of them. No, but that's true, because now that I watched one episode of Summer House, and Ciara, and I've seen like different interactions with Ciara, and she really doesn't play around.
No, Ciara,
she's not one to mess with.
Ciara has thrown things.
She stands on business.
She stands on business. She stands for what she thinks. She is about it. She's a bad bitch. We love Ciara. She can be quiet, but it's because she knows time and place.
Right. So they were playing with her.
Yeah, and then Sam trying to say like her speech was premeditated. And she's like, I don't need to rehearse. Like, just her saying, like, fuck the traitors, I'm coming for you. Oh. And she's like, I don't need to, like, try to be a badass and, like, do all this. And it's also like, Sam, you're acting as if she gave, like, this grandiose speech. Yeah. She said, like, 2 statements. It was like, fuck y'all. Like,
I would have thought that Jeremy's was the worst, because he's like, I'll work with you.
He was basically saying he was gonna work with the traitors, like, y'all.
But because he's dead, it doesn't matter. But she said the F word.
She cursed.
She uses profanity.
Derek did say in some interviews, I will say, listening to interviews, I'm starting to like Derek a little more. Yeah. He was saying too, he was like, I didn't get love on Big Brother for winning, but now in the traitors, I've gotten more love than whatever. And I think maybe it's because I wasn't like playing a scared game. I was just trying to like do it.
I hated him on Big Brother.
Same.
He was so mean to that nice guy.
Oh, what was his name? I know who you're talking about. But he like had the hat.
Eddie?
He was like country.
That country guy. He was so mean
Donnie.
to him. Donnie was so nice, and Donnie was so funny. So yeah, I really hated Derek for that. And then he played with that poor girl, Angelica or whatever.
I know who you're talking about again. I'm forgetting her name. She had like dark hair.
No, he was diabolical. Like, he was a great game player on Big Brother, but he was like so cutthroat that you almost felt bad for the people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, you could win, but like not like that.
Right, like relax. I saw some clip where he was trying to say like, you're taking food out of my daughter's like mouth, or like
fuck you.
you're taking like food off her plate or whatever. And like it was just like, okay, like as if they don't have their own things.
Right.
Like, come on.
No, I didn't like him on Big Brother at all because he was just too good. It's like, damn, you gotta you win, but then you like beat them up.
Yeah.
Like, you
like,
win by a mile.
Let's relax.
Yeah.
But he was saying, he was like, honestly, like, I never thought it was Ciara, really. And like, I curse as much as her, but I was trying to get them to focus on the coffin people instead of the cage boys. And I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Valid.
It does. So they vote. Long story short, should I just get to it?
Yeah, it was sad.
1, 2, 3, 4. We get to 6 votes, and the first 6 votes are all for Ciara. Nobody is voting otherwise. And she does a confessional and she starts to cry. And I really feel bad for her. And she's just like, she's annoyed because they're mistaking her fight for being a traitor. And she's like, her mom went through a lot raising her, and she raised a tough woman who's not gonna like lay down and not fight. Like, she's going to put up a fight. And she's like really frustrated, and like she's crying, and you can see like her makeup, like you can see the tear through her makeup. Like, she's really upset. And
it's so sad. And also it's sad too because Ciara, again, she doesn't do game shows for a living. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But she doesn't do this. Like, she's very much on a show where she just has to like be herself.
Yeah.
So it's like she doesn't really like have like a strategy like that, or like a motive to like be someone else. She's just being her.
Right.
So like when they're saying that and being like, oh, me being like this makes me guilty, it's just like, what the fuck?
No, I think it feels like a personal attack, which makes 100% sense to me why she would feel that way. So she's really upset, but she doesn't show them a single tear, and I'm like, I know that's right, girl.
Save it for the interview.
You don't need it. Don't let these people see you cry. You're gonna stand and you're gonna leave with your head held high. Everybody votes for her. She votes for Brittany. And so she gets up to the circle of truth and she says, I don't really do speeches, but I'll always go down fighting and never succumbing to anyone, even the traitors, because I am a faithful. And she just leaves.
She just goes.
Short and sweet, straight to the point.
Yeah, and like Gabby and Brittany look shocked. Sam's like, we messed that one up. And it's like, no fucking kidding, Sam.
Yeah, Sam, you really wanted to get a coffin person out.
Right. Ivar looks distraught.
Yeah, Danielle looks really sad too. I didn't see, they didn't even show Carolyn's reaction.
Carolyn was saying, she was like, on her podcast, she's like, I fucking hated this vote. It was so stupid how they were coming after Ciara over the coffin.
Yeah.
I'm like, period, Carolyn.
It must be really hard to be a traitor in this room because you're like, I know it's not you, but I voted for you. You know?
It's like, I gotta go with the majority here.
But yeah, the fact that everyone voted for her is just kind of crazy to me. Like, even Gabby.
Yeah, and Dylan. Dylan's was a little surprising. I'm surprised. At the very least, I expected him to throw a rogue vote at Gabby.
Right, because there's 10 votes. Like, she only needs 5 or 6 to go home.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. Even her friends voted for her. That would have hurt me.
But it's after the round table. Gabby feels awful. And she's like, Ciara's gone. And, like, I could be next. Like, this is terrible. I'm like, I hope you're not, Gabby.
Your reenactment of Gabby's are this is terrible. Like,
it's awful.
Yeah, is it terrible, sis?
We know.
But you're talking the same inflection, like you're this is
we can't
awful.
tell from your voice.
Right.
But that's why we love you.
Gabby's so great.
Tom says he didn't think it was her, but Sam's argument was strong. And, like, you know, it's one of those things where it's just like, I didn't think she was a traitor, but I'd always be thinking, well, what if?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. But Dylan's like, you know what? This is bullshit. Like, just because we actually didn't have to vote for her. And, like, he tells us, like, this was the hardest vote.
Yeah.
I went with the popular one and it feels like shit.
Yeah.
We get to Tom's talking to Gabby and Carolyn, and they're trying to figure out who had the shield. And Tom's like, oh no, like it wasn't Ciara, like it wasn't, but I'm not gonna say who.
Yeah.
And Carolyn's like, who was it? And she's like, oh, I'm not gonna say.
And I'm like, Carolyn, why do you want to know so bad? Shut up.
I know, right? Like,
stop asking.
Maybe ask once.
Yeah, the head and the stare, like, girl.
Sam, Ivar, and Dylan meet in the secret bookcase, and those idiots. Sam's like putting on the fucking armor. He's like, oh, what if I wore this? And I'm like, yeah, you fucking dunces. Dumb and dumber over here.
And they close the door behind them. I'm like, y'all are being weird.
And they're like, look, we're guys, and the traitors are girls. They're gonna kill us. I guess it's valid, but it's like, I don't know. They could have done just all male traitors. You never really know.
Yeah. And there's 4 guys left.
Yeah.
There's only 6. It's not that, the odds, it's not that deep. Right. Because it's Sam, Ivar, Dylan, Tom. Yeah. And then 6 girls. Or now 5 girls.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, 5. Because Ciara just went home. So it's not that much. They made it really seem like there's so many women. Yeah. There's only 1 more female than male right now.
I guess just because the traitors revealed were male so far.
Okay, that makes
more sense. So they're like, okay, there's got to be at least 1 girl. And it's like, maybe. But Carolyn and Danielle are talking outside, and they're kind of talking about like, oh, like Carolyn's asking who got the shield. Danielle's like, oh, I'll tell you in the turret, all that. I had a plan too. Dylan hears them just like that there's people outside, and he goes to join them, and it's just really weird and awkward.
It is, because like they were talking about the turret out loud in a room where we know behind the bookcase people can hear you. Yeah. So I was like, oh, are they about to get caught? But then Dylan comes out of the bookcase, which makes him look weird. Yeah. And so he sits down to like, I think he realizes that it looks weird. Yeah. And he sits down, and they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I can leave. And they're like, no, you're being weird. Don't put it on us.
You might as well stay, I guess.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
It was.
But he tells us he's still suspicious of Gabby. But he's starting to look at Danielle and thinks her shaking is all an act.
I didn't notice her shaking until that moment.
I think I maybe noticed it a couple times, but not as frequently. There's other things she's been doing.
Yeah. She's been crying. Yeah. She's been trying to keep people safe.
There's a lot going on. But then it's turret time.
So they all, Danielle and Carolyn gather into the turret, and they start talking, and they're like, I think this is in a confessional. One of them says, the faithful think that the last 2 traitors are women, so they've got to strategize and murder someone who makes sense. So they get in, and they're like, Carolyn's like, who has a shield? Or Danielle actually just outright says, Gabby, or not Gabby. What's her name? Ciara left with the shield. She had it. And Carolyn's like, no, I heard that she didn't have it. And Danielle's like, no, 100% she doesn't have it. Or she left with it. And Tom, because Tom told Carolyn that it wasn't her, it kind of looks, it looks like Carolyn doesn't believe Danielle here.
Yeah. Which I can get. Her trust is a little, like, she's a little, like, skeptical, but it seems like she's trying to believe her. Yeah. She's like, okay.
All right. Whatever you say.
Right. We'll see.
So Alan knocks on the door. They both get scared. And he comes in, and he's like, hello, traitors. Sorry to disturb you, but you have 2 choices tonight. You can murder, or you can recruit. If you accept to recruit someone, they will join you immediately, and no one is murdered. So they start having a new discussion. Danielle wants to recruit. Danielle's like, we should recruit. Carolyn's like, we should murder. They're not on the same page. Danielle's like, well, since there's more suspicion on like women, they need more people to bring in. And Carolyn's like, no, I don't think we need any more people. It's been hard for them to be on the same page. Imagine somebody else coming in, which is valid. And then Danielle is like, well, if they think there are 2 female traitors, they're going to keep putting females up until eventually we're banished. And so they need to get a girl traitor in to call them out. I'm pretty sure Danielle's mind, she wants to recruit a woman so that they could throw her under the bus and then give the faithfuls a traitor.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I could see either. I could see them doing that, or I could see not doing anything since it's kind of late in the game.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay.
Just
like,
having another woman to have another woman.
Yeah, it's going to overcomplicate it.
Yeah. So then she says that there were, Carolyn says there's a lot of girls left. Danielle is like, well, it's only between potentially Dolores, Gabby, and Brittany to recruit. Carolyn agrees then. She's like, okay, well, maybe recruiting a girl would work. But the only person who would never be a traitor is Dolores. Do you agree?
Like, she would deny it or decline it? Probably, because Dolores is very, like, Jersey mob.
Okay.
She's like loyal, like, I'll never be a fucking traitor.
Okay. So, I was like, is that true?
She would take it too seriously and probably not be.
So they both agree, okay, not Dolores. So she's like, okay, so the only other 2 people that we could recruit are Gabby and Brittany. Would Carolyn agree to either of those 2? And Carolyn's like, Gabby. She doesn't want to recruit Brittany at all.
And Danielle's like, I want fucking Brittany.
Yeah, she's like, really, Gabby? I'm like, so why didn't you just say Brittany? There's a lot of back and forth here.
Yeah, and she's like, no, please, no, we should do Brittany. No, we gotta do Brittany. Like, oh my gosh, like, no. Carolyn, we gotta do Brittany.
Like, please, she's like begging, and she's like, Brittany's a game player. Carolyn's like, that would make no sense for you to bring in your best friend, and she's like, she's not my best friend. She says, anyone but Brittany, please. And Danielle's like, no, like when and then Carolyn's like, but you guys would team up on me. And Danielle's like, absolutely not. And I'm like, Danielle, how could she believe you?
That part.
And you just said that you wanted a girl to give them a girl, like to throw a girl under the bus. So you're going to recruit Brittany to throw her under the bus? No, you won't.
That part, I'm a little like, I don't know if I believe that. And also, it's just like,
maybe that's not what she meant, but that's how I took it.
And it's like, because you're getting so like worked up about it not being Brittany, that kind of like shows that you actually don't care about it being a girl or not.
Yeah,
you like have
just
an agenda.
want Brittany.
I think she had wanted Brittany from the start to help her get rid of Boston Rob, because remember her whole point of turning on Carolyn.
Yeah. It makes sense. No, she's like, the goal is for us to get to the end together. And she like starts to beg. And in her confession, she starts to beg. And in her confessional, Carolyn's like, I'm not stupid. Like, if this would only be good for Danielle, this would not be good for me. And they're 2 like strong game. They have this big brother thing going on. Like, this is not good for me. And so they go back to the live conversation, and Danielle's like, no, I'm trying to get to the end with you. The 3 of us, 3 gamers, like, we could make history. We could work together. Brittany's smart. This could work. And Carolyn's like, I can't trust you. And Danielle's just like, please, please. And that's kind of all we see. Please. What do you think?
So I had mentioned before that people think Brittany is going to get recruited, but now I'm not sure, because Carolyn seems very much no.
Yeah.
Unless she backs down.
You did. Last week you were on that. You said that you felt like they were creating a storyline.
Yeah. And there was people on Twitter thinking, because of the screenshot from the trailer where it shows like a white woman's arm writing on the scroll or whatever. So it could be Brittany. They could do either. There's a point to be made for everyone. I would like them to recruit Gabby.
Oh, it'd be so cool. Well, yeah, and I think Gabby is, because why recruit Brittany? People are already suspicious of her.
Yeah, I guess it could work if they really wanted to throw her under the bus.
But I don't think Danielle would. Like, Danielle says, we need to bring a woman in to get her out, right? But then the woman she wants to bring in is Brittany. And you've had such a hard time letting go of Derek, who's not even a traitor. Ion apparently is your best bud. You know, like, you can't get rid of people. You feel bad when you have to vote people out, but you're gonna bring in Brittany just to get her out? That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. So it's just skeptical. Yeah. I'm not quite sure where her head's at. A part of me wanted them to recruit Dylan.
Yeah.
And then throw him under the bus.
Yeah. I don't think Dylan would say yes.
Probably not. But next week it looks like we get a visit from Kate and Parvati.
Yeah.
So for the challenge or the mission.
Looks like some kind of chess game or something.
Yeah. And it seems like it's being set up that the Roundtable is going to be Danielle versus Carolyn.
Yeah.
Now, have I told you about the hat theory?
I noticed it. She's wearing the second hat.
She's wearing the hat. But there's been a new revelation. Alan Cumming did an interview. And he said, he was talking about Danielle as a traitor. And he was like, she makes some interesting choices. And he said there was one point where she was so theatric at a reveal at a round table that her hat fell off. And so she's worn a hat before, and that didn't happen. So that makes it seem like whatever this next one is, Danielle survives it. somehow.
Oh.
And acts so dramatically at the reveal that her hat falls off. So then I'm like, does that mean Carolyn is going to get caught somehow? Does that mean whoever they recruit? Or is it going to be someone they thought was a traitor ends up being a faithful?
Interesting.
Or that she's pretending she thought was a traitor.
Wait, and he says we see the hat fall off?
Well, like, he says it happens, and we didn't see that happen the last time. Unless we missed it.
Yeah, maybe they didn't show it.
Maybe. Potentially. So, but
Interesting.
there's a case that Danielle somehow survives another week. I will say with the way people are talking about Danielle and kind of the tone of Carolyn and Brittany.
Yeah.
Because Brittany said on the podcast she knew Danielle was a traitor when she told her about Carolyn. Because Carolyn was pointing out, like, Danielle was basically looking at you being like, I'm a traitor.
Yeah.
Carolyn is too.
Listen to me.
Yes.
I know.
Yes. And Brittany was like, in that moment, I knew, because why would she say your name with no evidence?
Yeah.
And the way she said it. And that's why in this episode, she said she had mentioned, I'm fairly certain Danielle's a faithful. She's like, because I can't be there and be like, I know she's a traitor.
Yeah.
So I'm going to like kind of say it like this. So I'm wondering if the resentment is just because she threw her under the bus in general.
Yeah.
Or if because in this next episode, Carolyn somehow goes home.
Interesting.
But Brittany also said something that made it sound like Ivar and her make it to the end.
Oh, gosh. So we don't know anything.
She said she had stuff to say about Ivar, but she'll wait a few weeks. And I'm like, all right.
Oh, boy. Well,
Which who's to say if they're both still faithful or not?
Well, this is a very critical moment, because if they recruit someone and no one gets murdered, then everyone will know someone was recruited.
Yeah.
I would opt to not recruit.
I would too. I'm a little annoyed that they're given this option just because I feel like it's late.
It is late.
It's just like, it's too late.
I think so.
They're top 9.
Nobody is talking about Carolyn. If Carolyn doesn't make it to the end, some critical error is made, but she's good.
Yeah.
Danielle is the only one who might get voted out, but yeah, based on the conversations today at this round table, it's either Brittany or Danielle that people might vote out next.
Right, and I could see too, like, them keeping Danielle till the end because they know she's a traitor, and just like, okay, we know she is. Let's wait until the very end to get her out. But I don't know. It's just messy because I think this is episode 8, so next week's 9. Yeah. I think there's only 10 or 11 is the finale, and then it's like a reunion.
2 people leave every week. We're down to 8, then 6.
Yeah, and the finale usually they'll have like 5 or 6, and then like around the fire pit there's gonna be 4.
Yeah,
and then it's like, okay, and there's like a banishment before that.
Yeah,
but it's all in like 1 episode.
So yeah, there's probably 3 episodes left then of the season itself.
Yeah, so
it's interesting.
A lot happening.
A lot.
But I'm excited.
I am excited. This is a hard decision for them.
It is.
I think Danielle should prove her loyalty to Carolyn and just listen to Carolyn.
Yeah.
Because since people are already saying your name, you don't want to go into the next round table without an ally. And Carolyn doesn't fuck around. So if you play with her, she's not going to defend you. She's not going to help you. Her help might not mean much, but it's better than none.
Yeah.
I think you should just let her have it.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I would recruit no one and kill Dylan. Because just because even though it's a boy they're close to.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, maybe even though if they think it's a girl, because at this point, if they think it's a girl, they think it's a girl.
Yeah.
Like, because even, okay, there's one girl left. If there's still a traitor, they're probably going to assume that the next traitor is still going to be a girl.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, it's a theory, but it's a little loose. Like, you can kind of work around it, I think.
Yeah.
But with Dylan, he's just one of the ones left with the most sense.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, it could throw a wrench in it.
It could.
And maybe it could even be, I don't know, you could make the argument that it's a guy kind of like trying to like push in the theory that it's a girl. Like there's ways to argue anything. This game's difficult.
It is. I like that theory though.
Yeah.
But that was essentially the episode. But I was just scrolling through TikTok, and we saw a video of someone interviewing Ciara. And they basically asked Ciara about like her banishment, her reactions to the traitors. Like everybody, she's like, she didn't suspect Carolyn, but she said Danielle was being really weird. She did suspect Danielle. She thought Danielle was weird. And she was like, I don't know, I don't play games for a living, so I don't know if that's how you're supposed to act. Threw so much shade. And
she was like, I was disgusted when I found out Danielle was a traitor.
She was.
Because I guess off camera, Danielle was swearing on kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't know if the stakes are that high, but I don't play fucking game shows for a living, so maybe.
No, I didn't know the stakes were that high. Honestly, yeah, though. Like, okay, Ciara. She doesn't play games for a living. I'm pretty sure she has a job. But, yes, most average Joes don't get the chance to just win $500,000 or $250,000. Not a $250,000. Is it a quarter? What's the prize? 250,000?
200 something.
Yeah. Most average folks don't get that opportunity. I get that you might make that once a year, but...
I think with Danielle, because she was robbed in her season of Big Brother... She's very much trying to win a game.
Yeah.
So she's willing to do whatever. And especially with what happened in Reindeer Games. That was another thing Brittany was saying, I think kind of on the pod, but also on the Patreon. She's like, Danielle was mad at me over Reindeer Games for 6 months because I sent her into a challenge in the Peppermint Forest. She told me to fuck off when I apologized in person, did a bunch of interviews, and hated me for 6 months. So yes, I was trying to make up with her. And Carolyn's like, she's so mad about that. It's stupid. And I'm like, I think it's more because she didn't win a game and she wants to win a game.
Or she really needs some money.
I don't know.
I'd be salty over how much money was Reindeer Games? 100?
Maybe. I don't think it was that. I mean, maybe.
Listen.
It's important
Does she have grandkids? If she's a grandma, then hell yeah, I'd want to set my family up. Yeah. It's so hard for Black people to build wealth, period. But to have generational wealth, and y'all just want me to play a game real quick? Hell yeah, I'm going to fight for my life. I swear on all of you guys.
I'm going to shake. I'm going to cry.
Swear on my mom, my dad, my brothers, my future children, their children.
Everybody. Anyone can get it.
So yeah, I guess the stakes are high, but maybe she was just really trying. And then people in the comments were like, so you didn't want her to act like a traitor on Traitors?
Yeah.
You didn't want her to lie and, deceive on a show called Traitors? Like, that's kind of what you gotta do.
Yeah. It's just a discussion of how far are you willing to go.
Yeah.
Maybe morals, maybe not. I don't know. Acting. All of the above.
I feel like Brittany has more of a like really to say to Danielle than Ciara does.
Yeah. Boston Rob's not. I mean, he's not happy with Danielle, but he's just like, she's awful.
No, she was bugging. She's really lost. I mean, look, it's been 20? I want to say it's been almost 15. It's been more than 10 years since she played Big Brother. I think
she was
15.
on season 3.
Yeah, and we just finished 24, 25. Yeah. So, yeah. It's been a while. 20 years probably.
She just wants to win, y'all.
Also, she looks great for being a grandma. Go off.
She does. She's beautiful.
I want to look like that when I have grandkids.
Right. But we'll see. We'll see if she makes it. But I'm excited. This season's great.
Yeah.
So we'll see y'all next time. But this was it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to rate and review us. Give us 5 stars. Write us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love them. And if you would like to see our beautiful faces, instead of just listening, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Shade of It All Podcast. Follow our TikTok at The Shade of It All Podcast. Instagram at The Shade of It All Pod. And we'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.